Thank you, Congressman Perriello. The next question is specifically for Mr. Clark. Jeff, what direction do you think Congress should go in regarding Iraq and Afghanistan?
Well, I think when you look at Iraq and Afghanistan, you're really addressing two different scenarios. It's a totally different environment in Iraq than there is in Afghanistan. I think continuing the path that we have in Iraq right now is probably the appropriate measure. Things seem to be turning for the better there. There seems to be some stability in the government. But Afghanistan is, by all accounts right now, a bit of a mess. I'm a father of a Marine who recently returned from his first combat tour of duty in Afghanistan, and I've had the opportunity to hear from young Marines of their personal perspective from having served in Afghanistan. And right now, they lack a mission that has focus. It has really degenerated into nothing more than a drug interdiction program in a lot of cases. We don't have a specific targeted enemy, and we certainly are tying the hands of our soldiers and not allowing them to win this conflict. And in a way, we have drawn this out now for nearly 11 years. I think at this particular point, it's the largest conflict in American history, or the longest running conflict in American history. To me, I think it's a shame if we continue this strategy. We're asking our young men and women to risk their lives for political correctness, not asking them to risk their lives in the actual defense of our country. It's not that it's not important to address terrorism, but we need to increase our efforts in intelligence. We need to either commit to fighting the war and winning this war, or we need to find alternative solutions. But right now, our strategy lacks focus. Our men and women are being put at risk, and truthfully, I'm not sure how we continue to afford funding this operation in Afghanistan. I mean, right now, for the most part, our operation in Afghanistan is being funded by other countries. And how do we ensure that we are there truly protecting our national interest if it's being funded and supported by other countries?
Thank you, Mr. Clark. We also have this question to give Congressman Perriello a chance to respond to that topic as well. And specifically, we had a question. Congressman Perriello, why did you vote to continue funding for the war in Afghanistan?
The situation in Iraq, I think, is not a summer vacation spot, but I think we have reached some important strategic goals. I did not support that war in the first place. Once we had bogged ourselves down there, I thought there were strategic interests for getting out in the right way, and I think we have done so. We've gotten ourselves into a position to do that, and we have drawn down combat troops pretty much on schedule, which is a pretty impressive effort. Afghanistan is a mess, and I voted last year and this year to demand a strategy for victory and a plan for withdrawal. However, in the meantime, as those failed, I think it is important to continue to fund our troops as they are there. We have real strategic interests and concerns in the region, and I'll mention three. One, a destabilized nuclear Pakistan is a near existential threat to the United States. It is a very serious threat. Now, people can agree or disagree on whether our actions there are helping to stabilize or destabilize, but I think there's general agreement of how serious that strategic interest is. Second, a Taliban-led central government with links to al-Qaeda in Afghanistan is also a threat. That is distinct from necessarily varying degrees of seriousness and how tight those links are, how much of the country they control, etc. A third strategic threat for us in the region is getting bogged down in a quagmire. Afghanistan has been a graveyard of empires through the centuries, and it would be hubris for us to think that we are not capable of falling prey to that. I think General Petraeus is probably the greatest military mind of a couple of generations, and I certainly want us to succeed there. My concern from the beginning has been as follows. We have focused almost entirely on how big the lever should be when it's the fulcrum that's rotten to the core. More troops or less troops is the question of the lever, but we're there as a partner of an utterly corrupt and rotten government. As some of you know, I was there doing research for parts of 05 and 07, and it became clear at that point that this was a kleptocracy, and to the extent that we were seen as partners with these thugs and warlords, it undermined the unbelievably great work that our troops were doing over there. If we cannot figure out a way to change the political dynamic on the ground, the military strategy, in my mind, cannot succeed. The Bush administration made a huge mistake by imposing a constitution that did not make sense for Afghanistan. It was centralized, which made more sense in Iraq, which had a history